మరి ఇది మళ్ళీ ఫస్ట్ నుంచి చెప్పనా? So hello everyone. So in this particular lecture discussion we are going to see about the geography questions in this particular video. So already history khatam ho chuka hai and we are going to see the geography questions which have appeared in your GS paper 1 as of now. So in the geography, despite geography से direct questions आए हैं, clear sociology has been given more weightage as such in GS paper 1, but in geography there are some few good questions from where the question optimization has come into picture. If you see the questions directly like what is sea surface temperature rise and how does it affect the formation of tropical cyclone? How does it affect the formation of tropical cyclone has come into picture. If you could see, this question is on the background of cyclone Remal which has hit clear the Bangladesh and West Bengal region during the month of May and June, because it is a time of abnormality. Generally tropical cyclones whichever would be there, they generally have formed, they generally would be formed in the month of October as well as November. But cyclone Remal abnormally it has been formed in the month of May and June. So in this particular incidental condition, UPSC has asked this particular question. So in introduction, you can write any of the both keyword introductions. If you could see in introduction, either you can write sea surface temperature wala introduction or tropical cyclone definition if you very well know the tropical cyclone definition. Once you write this particular introduction, within the body, while you are writing, you have to construct in a phase manner. So randomly you should not construct the answer. So for this construction in the body, you have to mention why the sea surface temperatures are increasing, and you know the reasons. What are the reasons because of which sea surface temperatures are being increased? If you could see, greenhouse gas emissions is one major cause which is increasing the sea surface temperatures. Deforestation is the second segment which has become a global environmental issue which is creating huge amount of havoc situation that is further contributing to the sea surface temperature. And industrial activities which are there, these industrial activities are also creating this sea surface temperature increasing aspects. Clear? So in this particular consideration, once you have written the reasons for sea surface temperatures, you have to connect because of sea surface temperature increase, how it is impacting on tropical cyclones. This is what you have to see. So while you are writing the second part of the body, make sure that you have to mention about the energy source, because increase in sea surface temperatures, they provide the source of energy for tropical cyclones. Tropical cyclones generally drive on latent heat of condensation as such. So latent heat of condensation occurs only when sea surface temperatures are more than 27 degrees centigrade. So increase in sea surface temperatures, they provide this particular latent heat of condensation, and that latent heat of condensation further drives the tropical cyclone. So increase in sea surface temperatures, automatically they give the energy source for tropical cyclone. In any month, if the sea surface temperatures are more than 27 degrees centigrade, chances would be very great that tropical cyclones would be created. And if you could see, second is, once the sea surface temperatures would be increased, you have to diversify your thinking process and write like it increases the evaporation, and hence when evaporation is increased, the cumulonimbus cloud formations would occur, and the impact or event of thunderstorm in that particular region of tropical cyclone would be intensified. So thunderstorms with lightning and thunder come when the source of moisture is accumulated. So due to increase in sea surface temperatures, we are having increase in evaporations, which generally intensify the tropical cyclones. Third point is this increase in sea surface temperatures generally create the atmospheric instability in that region, and it also intensifies the tropical cyclones. If you see in the past 2 decades, in the global warming impact era, we had experienced very worst impacts of these particular tropical cyclone. So from this particular segment, we can mention that the tropical cyclones severity has been increased. If you have seen the last 1 decade or last 2 decades, the impact which it is showing, that is very high. So what are the impacts which generally tropical cyclone create is very simple. They generate the coastal flooding, and that coastal flooding has made the people to migrate. So we call it as distress migration. So coastal flooding की वजह से what happens is human displacement would take place and distress migration would come into picture. Along with that, we would be having intense coastal erosion where the soil component would be destroyed, hence impacting the agriculture segment. Along with that, we shall be finding huge economic losses. These are the 4 dimensions as such where the impacts would be shown when tropical cyclones are intensified due to this increase in sea surface temperatures. And coming to the conclusion aspect, so I have written one conclusion. You can directly follow up that particular conclusion, that is like understanding the relationship between sea surface temperature and a tropical cyclone is essential for predicting and mitigating the tropical cyclones. And these global temperatures which are continuously raising, the frequency and intensity of tropical cyclones are expected to rise, hence posing a significant challenges to coastal communities and global climate resilience. So ऐसा जो optimistic conclusion है that you have to choose. And one more most notable point is, as we have limited space here, you know, 150 words में आपको fix करना है, then you have to choose how precisely you are going to write this particular answer. Clear? This was question number 1 from geography segment. And question number 2, like this particular question, we can place it in geography as well as social issues, maybe like we can put it. The questions are like, why do large cities tend to attract more migrants than the smaller towns? Discuss in the light of conditions in developing countries. So directly, as they have asked developing countries, डायरेक्टली इंडिया बीइंग ए डेवलपिंग कंट्री, हम इंडिया का केस स्टडी लेके लिख सकते हैं. सो इंट्रोडक्शन में माय सजेशन इज, इन इंट्रोडक्शन यू राइट अबाउट माइग्रेशन और इंक्रीजिंग माइग्रेंट्स. So introduction में you can write regarding with the migration or increasing migrants in the present context. If you could see, large cities generally tend to attract. तो ये already question में दिए हैं. So इसके बारे में लिखने से अच्छा मेरा suggestion है, what do you meant by migration? Migration refers to movement of people from one particular location to other, either permanently or temporarily, because of push or pull factors from that particular source area or the destined area is called as migration. And in the recent trends, we are seeing increased migrants, and migrants can be of various categories. ऐसा आप लिख सकते हैं. And why do this particular migration generally happens? So in the body, whenever you write, see, every time I say use this particular word called as space while you write answer. Socially, politically, administrative, culturally, economically, environmentally, ecologically. तो जब भी आप बॉडी में लिखते हैं आंसर, योर बॉडी हैज टू बी इन ए डाइवर्सिफाइड यूनिट. क्लियर? तो इसमें अगर माइग्रेशन के बारे में इफ वी आर राइटिंग, why this particular migration is happening? Because of economic opportunities. Economic opportunities is one angle which you have to open. And in the economic opportunities, if you see, higher wages, you have to elaborate this. Higher wages, employment opportunities, and informal sector is very high in the urbanized regions. So this is one dimension which you have to open up: economic opportunities whenever you write this particular answer in the body of answer. Second is educational and health facilities. Educational and health facilities, you have to mention this: better education and health facilities you get in this particular region. ये आप खोल सकते हैं. Along with that, infrastructure and amenities is one segment which you can open up. Infrastructure and amenities is one particular segment which you have to open up. Second is social and cultural factors. Fourth one, social and cultural factors. See, it depends now that how many words the answer has been asked. 150 words you have to write, limiting this self. If they are asking it for 250 words, 200 words से लेके 250 वर्ड में अगर लिखना चाहते हैं, then you have to elaborate. Clear? तो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में हाउसिंग, better housing facilities. So you can extend this particular segment: housing facilities. Transportation, effective transportation. Utilities, this you can open up. Social and cultural factors, maybe you can write. Clear? And in the present context, government which is opening up. Whenever you write these particular segments, ये तो हो ही रहा है. Migration is happening for sure, but while the migration is happening, what government is focusing upon this particular migration is, if you could see, government policies and measures. Government is sticking itself to urban policies, developing economic zones for the upcoming problems. Urban policies, if you see, government started focusing upon this particular urbanization concept and urban development and rural migration. Rural urban migration की वजह से whatever would happen, rural urban migration policies, government is focusing upon these particular segments. So you can mention this particular government policies over here. And government is following these urban policies. So due to this particular migration exclusively in urban areas, what are the challenges which we will face? You have to write on overcrowding, slum development, pressure on natural resources, increase cost of living. Clear? Overcrowding you can write, slums you can write, social inequality develop होगा. Social inequality like between rich versus poor का जो class conflict है, that particular class conflict would be increased as such. Class conflict would be increased as such. Pressure on natural resources, and you can open up environmental degradation. Environmental degradation is one particular segment which we can write. है ना? इस particular dimensions में the structured sequence. Introduction में you can write regarding with so called as what is migration, or you can take up any data sheet or fact sheet regarding with the increasing migrants in the recent trend. So this you can take, and coming to the body, due to this particular migrants who are reaching this larger towns, clear, large cities. So why they are reaching these large cities exclusively in developing countries like India? Economic opportunities हैं इस large cities में. Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Bangalore. Why people are reaching to these locations? Obviously, first number one is economic opportunity. वहाँ पे higher wages है, employment है. Informal sector की भी like skilled and semi-skilled and unskilled labor also would be getting the work. Educational and health facilities are very good. है ना? Housing is very good. Transportation, utilities are very good. Social and cultural factors की impact है. So once you write this particular predominant phenomena, what are the government initiatives, because this migration can't be stopped. Government can't stop the free flow movement of the public as a fundamental right. There is a concept called as right to freedom. So government, what it would be doing is, as there is a rampant urbanization due to this migration, government will bring up some policies for better urban development. And while it would be doing, it would be facing some challenges. While government policy framework, whenever it would be doing, it has to focus upon these particular segmental aspects. So whenever government policies focus करेंगे इस particular segments में, it has to focus upon. And in conclusion, I have written one particular conclusion. Hope you like this particular conclusion. Addressing these challenges requires, I am reading it out again. Addressing these challenges requires comprehensive urban planning, investment in infrastructure and policies aimed at inclusive development. जो बजट में inclusive development के बारे में इतना जिक्र किया, in budget you have to mention this keyword, to enhance the benefits of urbanization which are equitably distributed. Again, I am repeating, addressing these challenges requires comprehensive urban planning, invest in infrastructure and policies aimed at inclusive development to ensure the benefits of urbanization are equitably distributed. Clear? So this was the question number 2. अभी हम बात करेंगे क्लाउड बस्ट के ऊपर. Clear? So cloud burst is a phenomena. It's a direct question. As I have said, ये क्वेश्चन आया है हिमाचल प्रदेश में, जो मंडी में, कुल्लू में, Shimla में, the cloudburst event has resulted into flash floods in that particular region. This question has come up from that particular background. So in this, while you write introduction, you can directly write the definition of this particular cloudburst. Define cloudburst. Cloudburst is defined as intense short duration rainfall covering 10 square kilometer area and recording more than 100 of rainfall within less than an hour is declared as a cloudburst. Clear? So cloudburst का definition है, it's an intense rainfall, clear, in shorter duration, clear, covering less than 10 square kilometer area and creating more than 100 rainfall with sudden splash, with sudden torrential rainfall, This is what the introduction which you have to write. Clear? This is what the introduction which we have to write. And coming to the body, you have to write the causes of cloudburst. Okay? See, I have segregated the causes. You can elaborate accordingly with your system. One is orographic uplift, and this is the reason why this particular cloudburst is very common in the mountainous region. Convective uplift, orographic uplift, convective uplift, atmosphere instability of rapid heating or global warming or climate change की वजह से, or local weather patterns might also contribute, because there sudden change in local weather patterns, sudden shift in heat, sudden shift in pressure systems in localized area, they might increase the intensified heating, and that might create huge amount of cloudburst in this particular region. Clear? So which is common in hilly regions, cloudburst, orographic uplift, hence common in hilly regions, hilly and mountainous regions. So this particular segment you have to focus. Causes of these particular cloud burst which are there. The causes whichever are there, you have to like write the causes of these. And writing the characteristics of this cloud burst are important. And again, it is on you. Like you have to check out, is it being asked for 200 word or is it being asked for 150 word? Agar if it is being asked for 200 to 250 word, then 100% you have to mention and elaborate this particular segment. So यहाँ पे तो 150 words में पूछे हैं. Now it depends upon you, like how you are challengingly writing this particular segment. Characteristics लिखना जरूरी है. Characteristics. One is high intensity. Second is heavily localized. Short duration rain. Impact on local weather system. So these are the characteristics which generally possess, and characteristic is hilly or mountainous region में this occurs. Hilly or mountainous regions it occurs. So once you write this particular characteristic, impacts लिखना is very very important. Impacts में पहला impact होगा flash flood for sure. Flash floods. If you take the case study of Uttarakhand or recent Himachal Pradesh case study, this is the most common thing. Clear? Landslides, soil erosion are the most common impacts which this cloudburst would be doing. Infrastructure damage, loss of life and property. Okay. See, these two things would be common in every disaster. You know? So you can write the recent case study, recent example, cloud burst and flash flood in Shimla, Kullu, Mandi of Himachal Pradesh. See, writing these particular case studies makes the examiner to be aware that you are aware of what is the contemporary thing which is happening. Clear? So if further, this is enough for 150 word answer. Agar if the same answer you have to write it for 250 words, you can write the mitigation and preparedness and you can write the conclusion. See, you have to add mitigation, preparedness and conclusion only अगर ये 250 word पूछे. But if you see in this particular question, they have only asked for 150 word, so you can stop it directly by writing the case study. Clear? So इसमें mitigation and prevention, if you see preparedness, you can write in mitigation and preparedness, you can write early warning system development, afforestation, community awareness or preparedness. These are the things which you have to focus on the mitigation strategy. Early warning system, afforestation, community awareness, and you can write one more segment in this, that is infrastructure planning too. Infrastructure planning. So these four combo of mitigation strategies can be done in the regions where cloud burst can be a common phenomena. Clear? So in the conclusion, you can write like, you can increase. Recently, if you see, the cloud burst have been increasing its particular state. So here you can write like, as cloud burst is closely associated with the climate change, as climate change continues to influence the weather patterns, like frequency and intensity of such extreme weather events, making it crucial to invest in resilient infrastructure and early warning system. So conclusion may you can say that effective early warning systems with good appropriate afforestation and community awareness, preparedness, and community participation in the mitigation program, along with infrastructure planning and development of first responder comes handy to tackle these kind of disasters. तो ऐसे आंसर आए, you have to cross check, like either it is being asked for 150 word or 250 word, then you have to focus upon this. Clear? So moving further, फिर क्वेश्चन आया है ग्राउंड वाटर पोटेंशियल. So history में already we have discussed this particular answer of industrial revolution. Yeah. So 250 marker, 250 words, है ना, 15 marker questions जो हैं, they have come into picture. So in this particular segment, you are supposed to write the groundwater potential of the Gangetic Valley is on serious decline. How may it affect the food security of India? See, first of all, in introduction, you have to write about the groundwater potential of Gangetic Valley. Clear? So Gangetic Valley, if you see the Ganga Valley region originating from this Bhagirathi up to the delta location, the groundwater potential of Ganga is perennial. As Ganga river, you can start your introduction like Ganga river being perennial in nature, has the capacity to recharge the groundwater and maintain its stability throughout the year. Clear? But in the body, when you start, you have to write about challenges for groundwater potential in Gangetic Valley. So faulty agricultural practices, ट्यूबवेल रेवोल्यूशन, ट्यूबवेल इरिगेशन जो भी हुआ है, इंडस्ट्रियल डंप्स, इंडस्ट्रियल वेस्टेज रिलीज, है ना, encroachment issues, dumping the waste into the Ganga river is making the groundwater potential to be reduced in this particular region. So serious rampant industrialization, excess growth of population and tubewell irrigation जब से start हुआ है, from then people started using excessive water resources, either for drinking, either for irrigation aspect. So you have to share the challenges which this particular Gangetic Valley is having, and you have to show cause that there is a huge decline. And as this particular Gangetic Valley region extends in the states of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Uttarakhand, and this particular region of Kolkata, where UP, Bihar and West Bengal, they are known for huge amount of cultivation of food grains, clear, as well as pulses. So if this particular region is not focused, again we might see the same scenario of not reaching the self-sufficiency in food. जो हम पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद में whatever the self-sufficiency aspect which we have faced, the problem of self-sufficiency, that is the point when the green revolution has started. So again, if this particular groundwater potential is not checked, then chances would be very great that again we would be reaching to that particular location. So in this particular segmental aspect, we can focus upon the groundwater potential. Along with that, we can say the government measures which the government has been following. Just a second. Clear? So several factors which helped this particular decline. So government का जो है, we have three major schemes which you have to involve in this particular region. I'm sorry. तो उसमें इस particular schemes में in the government overtook the schemes which are there. In this, you have to write about Atal Bhujal Yojana is one particular segment which you have to write. Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana and National Water Mission. So without writing these particular three, your answer won't be finished. Please do remember this particular point. Are you getting this? So to protect this particular region, further to protect this particular region, आपको लिखना है क्या है? Promote sustainable agriculture is one particular component which you have to write. Second, strengthen regulations. Third, enhance recharge mechanisms. Fourth, community involvement. So these are the aspects which I have made as a precise segment where you can write this here. So addressing this particular aspect is very, very important. Chances are very great. Because like you will not see a paper without groundwater or without water resources. Because groundwater resources mein, like we have seen the Bangalore crisis. Most probably we have expected the question from that Bangalore water crisis. But question have come from this particular segment, right? So you have to write in this particular dimension. ये थोड़ा देख लो. Chances would be very great that questions would be repeating again and again. And next question. This is directly the geography fundamental question. But these particular aurora lights which are there, aurora australis and aurora borealis, these particular aurora lights are considered as introduction mein, like you have to write the definition of aurora, whereby aurora is a northern and southern light which are visible at high latitudes, and they are formed by interaction of solar wind with Earth's magnetic field. So this is the major aspect, the interaction which has happened between the solar wind and Earth's magnetic field. We have this triggering of aurora as such. Clear? So we can write this particular introduction, and you can mention the location, and you can mention the mechanism within the body. You can mention the location of aurora australis, aurora borealis. Aurora borealis is in northern hemisphere. Aurora australis shall be in southern hemisphere. And you can write the mechanism and factors influencing it. So within the mechanism, as I've already mentioned, mechanism mein points which you would write is solar wind, मैग्नेटोस्फीयर, मैग्नेटोस्फीयर का लिखेंगे मैकेनिज्म में, मैग्नेटोस्फीयर इंटरेक्शन, and some part of this particular aurora australis shall happen with interaction with atmosphere too, interaction with atmosphere too, clear? And interaction with atmosphere with oxygen and nitrogen, and along with that due to excitation and emission. Clear? People have thought why this particular aurora question might have come. See, very simple. These aurora lights are the high latitude visible lights which are there. But recently, we have seen this particular aurora lights in Ladakh region. You know? So, as it was closely associated with India, so as it was in news, hence the chances of getting the question was very high. Clear? So, on this particular dimension, you have to write this particular answer. And if you could see the next direct question, what is a twister? Why are the majority of the twisters observed in the areas around Gulf of Mexico? So obviously you have to write the definition of the twister. Many people might have read about tropical cyclones, temperate cyclones, but very least might have read about thunderstorms. And in these thunderstorms, we shall be having supercells, and these particular supercells shall generate a closed air vortex in it called as mesocyclones, and some mesocyclones shall be developing the tornado element. Clear? So here नाम अलग दिए हैं, but twister refers to, twister introduction में क्या लिखेंगे? Twister refers to a tornado which is the fastest circulation of wind known on Earth's surface, associated with supercell thunderstorm along with mesocyclone formation. Mesocyclones formation along with the mesocyclones. You have to write this particular definition here, and in the body you have to explain how thunderstorms would be created, cumulonimbus clouds formation, and isme what is supercell you have to explain, how supercells will extract mesocyclones you have to explain, and some mesocyclones how they convert into tornado. Generally, supercell tornadoes, wherever they would be there we shall be having interaction of cold and warm air, and due to this particular contrast of warm and cold air in between, we shall be having generation of a circular movement of wind. And this particular circular movement of wind, with the intense heating and updraft, this circular horizontal pipe-like wind structure rises above into the atmosphere, having the connecting to this particular cloud, and once it connects the cloud, the water from this particular cloud circulates back towards this particular segment, referring it to as tornado. And USA is known for huge amount of tornadoes. Every year approximately 1,000 tornadoes hit this particular USA, United Kingdom. Tornadoes are known in all the countries, but USA is known, the Gulf of Mexico region is known for intensified tornadoes, because this Gulf of Mexico being a closed area, it shall create huge amount of thunderstorms. and as it is intensified with hurricanes too, the closed air circulations are very common in Gulf of Mexico, resulting into formation of familiar tornadoes in that particular region. So due to that particular conditions which are there in that region, we would be enhancing that particular segment. So ये tornado के ऊपर बहुत सारे लोग like they might have been red leashed, है ना? So एक बार जाके देख लो, we might be having multiple tornadoes created in that particular region too. So tornadoes are one of the devastating disasters. So इस particular क्वेश्चन पेपर में अगर आप देखेंगे, cyclones disasters, cloudburst disasters, tornadoes disasters, mostly they have focused on disaster management segment. Let's wait for GS paper 3, उसमें देखेंगे what all are the segments he would be covering. मेरा expected question भी है like landslides, as they did not ask in GS paper 1, chances are very great that they would be asking it in the GS paper 3 context. Clear? So this is a rough estimated idea which we have given regarding with this particular tornado format and tornado aspect. So for more details, follow our Ekam IAS Academy channel official. You would be getting the key elements of content in that particular region. Thank you. And the next session would be continued by Mr. Venkatesh sir. He would be dealing the questions associated with the Indian society and related aspects. Clear? Thank you for watching this. So please hold on. Sir would be taking the continuous class in this particular video itself. Thank you.
So hello everyone. We all know that today it's the kind of D-Day for us, UPSC aspirants and all. Society part, which is a very large part, especially in today's exam. Society questions, so they are asked in large number, almost like 100 marks exactly. So 100 marks out of 250 this year is from society. Right. See, Indian society as part of UPSC syllabus is a very diverse thing. It deals with each and everything, almost like gender question, the caste issues, the language issue, the regional disparities issues. So everything is part of the socio-economic dynamics of the country. So the demographic issues, the migration related things, so the developmental differences. So everything is part of society, and today's question paper, it exactly reflects that nature of syllabus. So the nature of syllabus is extremely diverse, and exactly today's paper, this 100 marks. So almost like 4 questions, 15 marks, and then we have 4 questions, 10 marks. So these 4 questions and these 4 questions, so they do reflect this nature of the syllabus. So one thing, you need to stay updated regarding what's going on in Indian society. You have to look at newspaper articles, you have to observe your surroundings, you have to observe the general tendencies that are going on in the matters of gender, in the matters of caste, religion, and all these aspects, regions, language disputes, and every other thing. you need to have an eye for the real on ground situation that is going on in India. That is one essential thing. Yes, you have to read, you have to complete the stock, you have to be prepared, current affairs schemes and all that. That's one part. But the other part is you have to be observant regarding the surrounding happenings. That's one thing UPSC is demanding in these questions. Second thing the UPSC is demanding from you is understanding the layered nature of our society. So Indian society is not a homogeneous entity. So you have the horizontal differences, so caste differences, religion differences, language, region, all these are there. At the same time, you have the vertical differentiation in our society. So the layered nature of the society. Within a caste, you have so people who have money, which means the rich, the upper middle class, the lower class, and all that. Within religion, you have these dynamics. So this layered nature has to be understood and it has to be reflected in your answers and all these things. Okay. So that's the demand of the syllabus. That's the demand of the paper of today's exam, especially. Now, let's look at questions one by one. So there are a total of 8 questions in society in today's exam. Now, so 10 mark questions. What is the concept of demographic winter? Is the world moving towards such a situation? Elaborate. Right. So now the issue is regarding the declining population rate, or you can say the declining birth rates in the world. What is the concept of demographic winter? First, you need to start your answer with this concept, demographic winter. Now, what is demographic winter? Demographic winter is a situation where you have declining birth rates. Declining birth rates. Okay. So this phenomena is demographic winter. Declining birth rates because the replacement across the world, so the average of the world situation, the replacement ratio, or you can call it as the replacement TFR, total fertility rate, it is 2.1 live births per one woman. Okay. Now the current TFR of the world, average TFR of the world is at 2.27. So almost like we are reaching the situation of replacement ratio. If we reach to the situation of replacement ratio, there would be drastic decline in the population. So that's the reason why this term demographic winter, it has become popular, especially in the Western societies. In Canada, in US, in Europe, especially in that part of the world, in the developed part, in the first world. So this is a very, very serious phenomena. For example, in countries like Norway, Sweden, the Nordic countries, right? Generally, they have got the best socio-economic indicators and all these things, right? In those countries, the number of pensioners it got increased heavily, whereas the number of earners who work, the working age population as such, the number of earners in the society, it declined drastically in the past 10, 20 years. Whereas the number of pensioners who are dependent on the welfare schemes of the government, they got increased. The social security measures and all these, the budget for them, it got increased. So the care economy as such, what we call it as the social sector benefits and all these things, social security benefits and all these things, we call it as the care economy. So the care economy has become a very large thing in Western societies. Of course, in other societies too, even in India and all that, we have this problem. So because of all these reasons, declining birth rates is the thing you need to explain, and you need to have basic stats regarding this thing, TFR. So along with that, you need to highlight that this term, it became popular in the Western societies because of certain phenomena like declining working age population, increase in uh, pensioners and dependents, and increase in the so-called care economy, elderly care economy, especially care economy for the elderly. So these things you need to write in your answer in the first part. So regarding demographic winter, so that the examiner would get a feeling that yes, you have got this thing, you have got a sense about it, you have got clear picture of what the situation is all about. Right? This is the case. Now, world moving towards such situation? Elaborate. The thing is the world moving towards such situation? The world is moving towards that situation. So world as such, in your answer, as we said earlier, you need to have that layered approach. What's the thing is about? Western societies first. Yes, in these societies, the problem of demographic winter is very, very high. Okay. In these societies, they are excessively dependent on migrants. So even for skilled jobs, they are in need of migrants, especially universities in the Western countries. They are heavily dependent on the migrants, right? Skilled jobs, students for universities. All these skilled jobs and even the basic workforce, right? So yes, the Western societies, they are definitely moving towards this situation of demographic winter. For example, Japan, the developed world, part of the developed world. In Japan, what they have done now, they are encouraging the uh, youngsters to get married early. They are encouraging the youngsters to have kids, right? So they are actually enhancing salary benefits and other such things to married people, uh, people who have got children. All such measures are being taken by Japan because they are facing serious decline in the population. Same case with South Korea, another developed country. So they are also doing the same thing as that of the same schemes that are being implemented in Japan. Now, if you take China, even China with one of the largest populations in the world, the second largest population in the world, so they too have revoked their one-child policy because they felt they are about to reach the replacement ratio. If they reach the replacement ratio, it would lead to decline in their population, decline in the workforce, and China would be losing the advantage of cheap labor. Because based on that cheap labor only, China would become the world manufacturer, world leading manufacturer, right? So there, even in India, so that is the western part. Here is the eastern part. Even in India, in South India, especially in South India. So earlier population control measures, so awareness campaigns regarding small families and all that, it used to be a regular thing. But now even in South India, the campaign regarding the population control and all that, it has drastically got reduced because the South Indian states, the South Indian policymakers, states below these states, they started feeling that the decline in the population in these areas is a serious thing, is a serious issue. So the birth rates are they got reduced. Plus at the same time, migration got increased to other countries. From Kerala, if you take Kerala to Gulf, from Andhra and Telangana to US, Western world and all that. So that's the reason why even here the population control measures, they took a backseat, right? In this way, so Western world, Eastern world, and countries like India, so everywhere wherever it matters, so demographic winter as a situation, yes, it has started causing serious, what you can say, it has started showing up within the policy measures taken by the policy direction as such, it got changed across the world, right? So that one particular thing we need to identify. So now, what are the other consequences of demographic? What are the reasons for this demographic winter? See, the reasons for this demographic winter, reasons. So first and foremost thing is, as any society progresses, it becomes more into this materialistic things. It becomes more and more aspirational and all that. Then the age of marriage would increase. That's a common phenomena. It happened in West. It's happening in India. It happened in Japan and all that. The age of marriage, it gets the marriage as a thing, it gets delayed. So delayed marriages. So preference for small family. Right. So preference for small family. So working parents, working couples. So who can't spare time for children and all that, even if they can spare time only for a single child, not for the second one. So career related matters, especially career focus, career career focus, especially with women becoming more and more this thing educated and all that. So career focus is one reason. Work culture is another reason, right? Work culture, medical awareness, work culture. So you have people working for hours together. For example, in China, you have got this 70-hour a week principle, right? So glorifying too many work hours. All such situation is happening across the world. Even in India, you have seen Infosys Narayan Murthy speaking about uh, people should work for 14 hours a day and all that. So such changes in the work culture, such changes in the orientation regarding career and all that. So they started having the impact on the birth rates, negative impact on the birth rates. So all these are the reasons for the so-called phenomena of demographic winter that we need to keep in mind. So, what are the consequences of it? Definitely, such a serious phenomena, people, world population reaching the replacement ratio and all that, it will have consequences. So, what are the consequences of this demographic winter as a phenomena? The consequences, the first consequence would be migration. Migration. So, areas with large population like South Asia, Southeast Asia, and all that, from there, people will start migrating in large numbers to areas with with very less populations, especially Europe, Canada, USA, and all that. So they'll start experiencing more and more migration because there is this need of workforce, skilled workers, and all that. So they will have to encourage migration over a period of time. Even Japan, if you take Japan, they started giving preferential visas to Indians. So of late, since 5 6 years, we start to see that many Indian software engineers are going to South Korea, right? So all such phenomena, migration. Next, second thing, dependence on technology would increase a lot. Heavy dependence on technology with the decline in population, right? Dependence on farm, so technology, especially farm mechanization. So farm mechanization we'll see, and then we start to observe AI being used, right? So farm mechanization, AI, nanotechnology tools, robotics. So they'll all come into picture, especially in armed forces. There would be huge use of technology because countries will stop having large population and whatever young population they have got, they can't uh, uh, they can't afford to lose that young population. So they'll stop sending them to army and all that. They will start replacing men with technology, men with robots and all such things, right? So migration as a phenomena and this. So whenever migration happens, it would lead to cultural changes, cultural changes in the world. Okay. So for example, uh, once upon a time, Indian festivals were a rarity, were a kind of exotic thing in US, in Europe. But now, almost all the major states in USA, they started declaring holiday for Indian festivals because of the presence of large Indian diaspora there, right? So, cultural changes would be there. So these are the three important things, and obviously it would lead to certain amount of social conflict. It would lead to certain amount of social conflict in the world societies, right? Because adjustments and all that, they are not an easy phenomena, right? It would lead to xenophobia, the fear of the new people and all that. So polarization, certain political implications, all these things would be there. So serious decline in population is good to some extent, but it goes beyond an extent, then it would have political, cultural, social, economic, and technological implications. How the world works, how the population distribution happens. So all these things are changing, or rapidly changing, because of this phenomena of demographic winter. Okay, so this should be your comprehensive understanding of the issue, and you need to present all these things in the answer. Mainly the demand of the question is about what is the concept of demographic winter? Is the world moving towards such a situation? Elaborate. Is the world moving towards such situation? Yes. You need to write all these examples. Yes, definitely it is moving to such situation. At least if not the entire countries, parts of the countries, they are moving towards such situation. And they have got implications. The reasons are this. Why the world is moving towards the demographic winter, the reasons. And these are the consequences for it. Okay. So these things you need to present in your answer. Yes, it's a 10-mark question, I know, but at the same, you need to remember that you have to provide, you have to write at least in a short form. You need to present all these points. Only then your answer regarding this particular concept would look comprehensive, right? So try to include as many points as possible in the given space and all that in the answer sheet. So if you have covered these points, then definitely you'll get good score for this question. Next. So next question of our discussion. Distinguish between gender equality, gender equity, and women's empowerment. So the question got printed in the wrong fashion, if I'm not wrong. Let me check the question once. Gender equality, gender equity. Got typed as equality twice. No, it is equity. So read it as equity. Okay. So distinguish between gender equality, gender equity, women's empowerment. Okay, that's the first part of the question. Why is it important to take gender concerns? Sorry, it is gender. Gender concerns into account in program design and implementation. Okay, now see, for any UPSC question, two things you need to observe. Whenever you look at a question in exam, you need to understand two things. What's the demand of the question? What are the parts and subparts within the question? Now here the demand of the question is regarding how important is to place, or you can say is to include gender related issues into the policy matters. Okay, why is it important? That's the core demand. And of course there are two parts, two sets. So distinguish between gender equality, gender equity, and women's empowerment. So why these three are three different concepts? Gender equality, gender equity, women empowerment. Three concepts he wants us to, they want us to explain. Why is it important to take gender concerns into account? Now, regarding the first part of the question, you should explain in your first part is as a gender equality. The concept of equality and equity, they have a slight difference. Gender equality means, so men and women should get equal share of resources, should get equal share of resources and attention. That's the gender equality concept. So on the face of it, gender equality, it appears to be very fair. Okay, if there are 100 crores to be spent, so 50-50. If there are so and so, so we have to divide it equally. In this way, equal allocation of resources has to be done to genders. But is it sufficient? No. Equality as a concept, or equal distribution of resources as a concept, it works in equal societies, not in unequal situations. Here, men historically are the dominant gender, and women are generally, they are kind of victimized gender. Okay, so women historically, they are deprived of resources, they are deprived of many things, freedom and every other thing. So equality as an idea, it won't work for unequals. Okay, equal distribution as such, it doesn't work. Equal distribution would lead to men progressing further, women progressing further, and the gap would always remain. Okay, so you need to highlight in your answer that in gender equality on the face of it appears to be fine, but it would not end the gap that's there between men and women in terms of socio-economic indicators or the development indicators. You need to say that equality would work only in equal circumstances, but in unequal circumstances, when there are power dynamics and all those things involved, there we can't go for equality as a concept. So what should be done then? Then here comes the idea of gender equity. You need to link in this particular fashion. Equity is about distributing resources in such a fashion that it would ultimately lead to reduction in the gap between the two sections or the sections that are present. So men, women, they should be allotted resources in such a way that ultimately over a period of time, the gap between men and women in socio-economic indicators would get reduced. So the idea should be equity, not equality. Okay, the idea should be proportionate, or uh, you can say conscious distribution of resources in such a way that equality is achieved. So you need to write that equity is the process through which ultimately we can achieve equality. If we start with equality, equality is not achieved. If we start with equity, then equality can be achieved. So this should be the process and it is the goal. Okay, it can't be the goal. Okay, this is the reason why societal answers, as I said, layered. Society as a topic has got layers in it. On the face of it, it would be something, but if we dig deeper, there would be dynamics and other things that are present which require specific policy interventions and policy attention and all that. Next. So next thing you need to explain is women empowerment. What is empowerment as an idea? Women empowerment as an idea is mainly about freedom of choice. Freedom of choice regarding the decisions to be taken about their life, regarding the decisions to be taken about their profession. So such freedom of taking decision about their life, profession, life partner, all these things, so that would lead to empowerment. And women empowerment is about freedom of choice. When does it arrive? It arrives with proper political representation. So proper political representation is required. Only then it would lead to empowerment. And then it requires proper education, employment, proper pay, okay, proper socio-economic infrastructure that enables women to have employment, education, and all these things. For example, we know this issue of uh, many schools in India, in rural India, not having toilets, girl toilets. So that's a very serious stumble. That's a very serious hurdle in the way of women education. Okay, girls, especially adolescent girls and all that, due to this lack of one simple facility called toilets, so they avoid going to schools in large parts of rural India. So you need to provide socio-economic infrastructure in such a way that it would lead to education, ultimately leading to empowerment. Only an educated girl with awareness can have employment, can have her own money, and that would lead to freedom of decision making. Right? This is the case. So socio-economic infrastructure. Even recently, uh, a important thing came. Many district courts, many district courts, they don't have toilets for women lawyers and women judges. See the situation, right? So such is the situation regarding gender. Leave about empowerment. Even the basic things are missing. Only with basic things being provided, we can reach up to empowerment. So such points you need to include in your uh, answer, right? Not all the points, of course, we will don't have the time and space and other things to include all these points, but uh, you need to have that idea that okay, whatever you read in newspaper, whatever you come across in social media and all that, how cleverly we can use it in our answers. So that clarity, that what you can say, that smartness should be there in answer writing. So women empowerment as an idea has to be discussed. So these three things, after explaining them, So why is it important to take gender concerns into account? Program design and implementation. Why is it important? It is important because so mainly 50% of the population, 50% about of the population, they are women. And if 50% of population in our society, if they lag behind in terms of education, employment, everything in terms of empowerment, political representation and all that, it seriously reflects upon the overall development of our country, of our society. So we have to take along the women section, the largest section, the largest vulnerable section in our society. Only then we can move ahead. Otherwise, any kind of development, any kind of progress that we make, it would be skewed. It would be elitist. It would be very much biased. It doesn't uh, lead to any kind of overall development in our country. Okay, and even future generations, they get seriously affected. That's the reason why we need to take along the biggest vulnerable group in our society, women. That's one reason. Second reason, uh, so why is it important to take gender concerns into account, program design and implementation? That is one. Second thing, what makes it more serious? The data. The data points about the socio-economic conditions of women in our society. Socio-economic data. So take for example the health stats, anemia, sickle cell anemia, right? Sickle cell anemia, even MMR, even now, maternal mortality rate. So all such indicators, they are still are at a ticking high. So we need to reduce them a lot. Take, for example, the pay gap. The pay gap is very, very severe. This we need to take into consideration. Health stats, pay gap, employment. So what is the percentage of women employees? Why they are mostly into unorganized sector? Why they are not being hired into organized sector? Right? Consistency in employment. All these things, they are a matter of concern. Employment percentage, dropout rate, and then safety concerns, very important. So recently we have seen entire country getting shocked with certain incidents in Kolkata and all that. So safety concerns. So the data is heavily, it's very quite shaming. As a society, we need to feel ashamed that even now the safety of women is a very, very vulnerable thing in our society. The safety concern. So this data makes it a very serious. This data makes it a very serious. This thing, uh, what you can say, it makes a serious appeal. The data itself reveals that the data itself questions us that you need to work upon the gender concerns. Otherwise, it would lead to the overall decline in the society. Right? These points you need to include. Plus, you can add another thing, right? The future perspective. Future. Any society that invested in women education, women empowerment, women safety, so such societies they have progressed. Women health and all that, they have definitely progressed. They have moved far ahead. Japan, so South Korea, Eastern societies. In Western, we know it, the Nordic countries and all that. So for future, to have a sustainable development, to have an inclusive development and all that, we need to take gender concerns into consideration. Only then we can move ahead. So that should be the direction of your answer. Mainly question. This question demands from you conceptual knowledge regarding how equality, equity, and women empowerment, how they play with each other, how they interact with each other, why they are tricky, why you need to have that nuanced knowledge of equality is the goal and equity is the process, and empowerment is the ultimate aim of the society. And then, why is it important to take gender concerns into account while designing program implementation? Why? This all these are the reasons. Future, inclusion, inclusivity, and then Sustainability. Sustainability. These are the reasons. So that's the reason why, if you have time, you can write. So we have this concept of gender budgeting in our country. Gender budgeting. We have Ministry of Women and Child Welfare. Especially gender budgeting as an idea, uh, it gained importance in the last 10, 20 years. So in every scheme, in every allocation made by the government, how much would be spent for women? That has to be accounted. And what would be the positive implication of that particular allocation in the budget? That has to be discussed while discussing the budget. So such measures are there in place, and several schemes are being implemented. And recently we have this reservation, so women reservation, so for both parliament and state assemblies. This thing has also come up in the come up recently, and it will be implemented in the coming general elections, right? So these things you can point out. If you have time and space in the exam, you can write those points too, right? That's the case with the second answer. Second society question of today's exam. Now, the third question, intercaste marriages. Caste is a is the elephant in the room in Indian society. So definitely you can expect a question related to caste dynamics. So it can be stock or how caste as a thing it's getting changed in Indian society. That's always a cause of concern, and any administrator has to keep an eye on the societal caste dynamics. So UPSC always asks a question on caste thing. So now let's look at this question. It's very dynamic in nature. Intercaste marriages between castes which have socioeconomic parity have increased to some extent, but this is less have increased to some extent, but this is less true of interreligious marriages. Okay, discuss why there is this phenomenon. You can start writing the answer by saying that caste in Indian society is essentially, it got started with profession, okay, and now it got metamorphosized over a period of time into purely an endogamy thing. Endogamy. So now in Indian society, since several hundred years, some 200-300 years and all that, caste as an institution, it doesn't have any kind of occupational importance. Caste as an institution, it has got only marriage related relevance, because people of any varna, any caste, they are not doing the profession of the prescribed profession. They are into different professions based on their choice, based on their interest, their education background, and all these things. So, what caste has done to preserve itself, it has metamorphosized into purely a marriage entity, purely an endogamy based institution. Now, so profession and endogamy, these are the two features of caste as an institution, and endogamy is the only relevant thing in the society. With that, you can start your answer. Now, in the introduction. Now, intercaste marriages in same socio-economic parity. Socio-economic parity, they have increased. So, if you observe in Indian society, what's happening is upper caste, the so-called upper caste, upper caste. So, whenever you write such terms, use inverted commas, because it suggests that you are using it purely in academic nature, not in any general nature. Not, you don't mean upper caste as upper caste, but you are using it only for academic reasons, for the purpose of this particular discussion, right? So the so-called upper caste, so they started having more number of intercaste marriages. Intercaste marriages. So socio-economic parity is the thing. Why? Because especially upper caste and even intermediary caste groups. In these two sections, we can observe intercaste marriages. What happens is, for example, for the discussion, we take certain names of certain caste groups. For example, in the intermediary caste groups, take the agrarian castes. The agrarian castes. So agrarian castes, for example, there is, for example, take in South Indian society, we have different caste groups and all that. So Okkaligas in Karnataka, and then Lingayats, same in Karnataka. Take for example, for our discussion reasons, Reddis and Kammas in Andhra Telangana region. Reddis, Kammas or Velamas, Kapus and all that. Okay. So you have Thevars, and then uh, you have Thevars and Gounders, Vellalas in Tamil Nadu. So such caste groups, the thing is like, okay, you are a Vokkaliga, I'm a Lingayat. What does your father do? Agriculture. What does your father do? Agriculture. Right? So you own how much land? You own how much land? To which God you believe in? To which God you believe in? Simple. So there you own so much land, you do so and so job. So you are also an agriculturist, I am also an agriculturist, or you are an industrialist, I am an industrialist. So we have same profession, same kind of related profession. We have the same agrarian background. We have same gods, similar gods. So you worship Shiva, I worship Shiva, right? So you have similar gods, you have similar background, we have same agrarian concerns and all these things. So why can't we marry? That's the case. So in this way, again, this professional, or you can say this background related homogeneity that's there, or similarities that are there among these caste groups that are playing up. For example, a Velama, Reddy or a Kamma and Kapu, what do? You do agriculture. My father too does agriculture. Your father does agriculture. How much land do you own? How much land do I own? So to what God you pray? To what God I pray? Venkateshwar Swami, Venkateshwar Swami. Okay, fine. So they are having lot of this parity, traditions related. What is increasing this is, so for example, even in upper caste you can take Brahmin and Vaishya, the so-called upper caste group. You can take Brahmin and Vaishya groups. Right, you are a vegetarian, I am a vegetarian. So my family tradition is also purely vegetarian. Your family tradition is also vegetarian into orientation and all that. Your gods, my gods. Your profession, my profession. Simple. So such discussion, such clarity, it is increasing the intercaste marriages with same socio-economic parity. So what are the factors? The factors are awareness. Second thing is, so similarity in traditions, similarity in traditions, and then awareness, or you can say acceptance, and then you have awareness, acceptance, similarity in traditions, urbanization, urbanization as a phenomena. So and then difficulty in matchmaking, difficulty in matchmaking, all these things. So all these things combinedly, we have got, uh, and then all these things. So they are increasing this tendency of intercaste marriages among castes of having same socio-economic background. So this doesn't happen with upper caste and lower caste. This is not happening because there again the caste consciousness it kicks in. Okay, why it's not happening the other way around, upper caste with lower caste and all that? No, it's not happening because it doesn't have social acceptance. Here you will have the fear of losing social relations. Here you will be having this feeling of being kind of kept aside by your relatives and all that. So that's the reason why lower caste, upper caste, or lower caste and intermediary agrarian caste, this dynamics they are not working out because of the prevailing, or you can say the continued existence of caste consciousness, especially social status consciousness. social status consciousness thing, right? So these similarities are playing out. The second part of the question is, but this is less true among interreligious marriages. Simple, reverse the reason. Reversing the reason is awareness and acceptance are not there for interreligious marriages because of polarization, heavy polarization in the society. Across the world, there is this phenomenon of polarization, religious polarization that's happening, right? So you have this problem of polarization. You have this problem of uh, xenophobia. So xenophobia in the sense you don't know their traditions. You don't, right? So fear of missing out, especially the relatives. So non-acceptance. The society is yet to accept religious this thing because the traditions, the gods, most of the times even the professional background of the families, they don't match. So that's the reason why interreligious marriages are not a thing in India, are not such popular in India, because you have mainly the traditional related mismatches, mismatch. Traditions, gods, rituals, all these things they change a lot, right? They change a lot from religion to religion. So there such level of dissimilarity or staying away is something which Indians can't imagine, because for Indians caste as well as religion both are important. Caste as a thing too, they are compromising here because they belong to same socio-economic category. There is no loss of status, there is no loss of tradition. So this you need to understand and then you need to present in your answer. See, a general observation of your surrounding society is sufficient. If you observe in the general surrounding society, you see lot of marriages happening in these intermediary caste groups. So Jat Kurmi in North India, for example, Jat Kurmi, or even Rajput Khatri, Jat Khatri, all such marriages you see happening. Brahmin Vaishya marriages and all that you see happening in North, because people have got that talking points. Okay, you have got the talking points. You can talk about your economic status, real estate. You can talk about agriculture. You can talk about any business that you do, profession, IT backgrounds, or something like that. So that economy would, how much you have invested there, how much I have invested here. So are you buying those stocks? All such discussion, right? That would happen. That can happen, and they can have some talking points with each other. Same thing in South India. That's the reason why you see this happening. Even in Bengal society, if you take Kayastha uh, Brahmins, so they have a lot of similarities regarding their socio-economic background, their work, their economic status, and all these things. Brahmins and Vaidya, these caste groups. So, lot of intercaste marriages happening even in Eastern India. So, observe your surrounding society. You will get lot of examples regarding such marriages because of these reasons. Why it is not happening in religion? Because of these reasons: loss of tradition, fear of missing out, polarization, non-acceptance, all these things. They are, so even food habits and other things they differ, especially food habits, major concern to people, right? All these things, because of that you have kind of resistance to interreligious marriages that's there in the society. Okay. Very good question actually this is, because it exactly captures how Indian society is moving, how certain caste groups they are realigning their preferences, how certain people they are making amendments regarding caste endogamy related things. That's happening. So that you need to keep in your mind. So both at upper caste levels, even intermediary caste levels, that's happening in a very big fashion. Even in the lower caste levels, that's happening, but that's not a prominent phenomena there. But in the intermediary and in the upper caste, it's a very huge phenomenon, right? That you need to keep in your mind. So to conclude, you say that you can say the dynamic nature of Indian society. In conclusion, you can write about the dynamic nature of Indian society. Okay, fine. Next question. So, society kind of governance, they have included both the points here in this question. In dealing with socio-economic issues of development, what kind of collaboration between government, NGOs, and private sector would be most productive? What kind of collaboration in development in socio-economic issues? See, firstly, we have this standard definition of what's development is. So we have this basic thing in economy that we study, uh, growth versus development, right? So development is all about the overall progress of society. Overall progress of society on both social indicators as well as economic indicators. That overall development in the quality of life, socio-economic indicators of entire society, inclusive in an inclusive fashion, that we call it as development. And development has to be taken as the main indicator for uh, the progress of the society. See, development is indicated by several indicators. We have HDI, all these things. We have uh, presently we have got sustainable development related indices. All these things are there. So that classic definition of development, you need to write it in your introduction, because that acts as a base that you are writing it from the perspective of society. This answer, you should not write it from the perspective of governance, because that's part of the other paper, next paper. But here you need to write it from the perspective of society. So make it clear that overall progress of entire society. All the sections in society, that is the thing. So in dealing with, plus this question is about, next you will highlight about socio-economic issues. So here in the second part of your answer, you can write saying that socio-economic issues of our country, they are very complex in nature. They are very complex, diverse, layered in nature, right? So it's not possible for government alone to deal with these problems. Government alone can't be kind of Superman which can be present everywhere and which can deal with everything. It doesn't work like that. Government has to work with different stakeholders in the society. Society is not just about the government and people. Society is all about different institutions that are present. So that we call it as, so you need to highlight that socio-economic issues, they are diverse, they are complex, they are layered in nature, complex, layered, and you have long-standing issues, long-standing concerns, right? And even in diversity, you have caste-related, region-related, gender-related diversity is present in the socio-economic issues. So you need to, in the next part, you need to write the pluralist nature of problem solving. Okay, so problem solving, you can even write a diagram. So socio-economic issues, socio-economic issues. So state, or you can say government on one side, people themselves making initiative. Next we have private sector. Next we have NGOs, activists. So everyone is a stakeholder in this process, because everyone will face the consequences. So when everyone will have consequences for a particular phenomena, then everyone have to participate, and the primary responsibility lies on government to mobilize everyone. To mobilize everyone, to include everyone in a non-authoritative fashion, in a respectful fashion. You need to include. You can't just force them to participate. Forceful participation would be artificial, insufficient, and all these things. So you need to have this non-authoritative, inclusive approach. The primary responsibility is towards them. Of course, people and all that, they will come next. So this you need to present. And the third part of the, so this will take a lot of space and time and all that. You discuss in detail. You can draw this diagram, and then you can address the next part. what kind of collaboration between government, NGOs and private sector would be most productive? What kind of collaboration is required? The standard this thing right now. Government, NGOs, private sector. What kind of collaboration is required? See, the kind of collaboration that we require from these three entities, from these three stakeholders, is that they need to bring about their best capabilities in dealing with these issues. So government should bring about its best capability. What is the best capability that government has got? Government data, resources. It can be resources, budget, bureaucracy, like mobilization capacity, mobilization, and most importantly, authority. It has the authority. Okay, government has got this eminent domain status. So for the good of the society, for the working of the government, it can claim eminent domain status and it can issue order and it can get things done, right? So data, resources, mobilization authority are three essential things that government can bring about. What NGOs are good at? NGOs are good at ideas. NGOs are good at awareness creation. NGOs are good at feedback. NGOs are good at uh, making people participate. People participation would be higher because there won't be any kind of fear factor. There won't be any kind of politicization with NGOs. Whereas if government gets included, any government thing will have some amount of politicization in it. So people kind of become hesitant when this politicization comes up. So that's the reason why NGOs, they can bring about people because the politicization part would be much lesser. So what private sector can do? Private sector can provide funds, CSR. What private sector can do? Private sector can bring about expertise. It can provide logistics if necessary. Government will have logistics and all that, but even private sector can provide logistics in times of necessity. So logistics, expertise, funds, these three things, right? So private sector can't mobilize people. Private sector can't make people participate because if private sector wants people to participate, there would be kind of hesitation among people that are they doing it for the sake of profit? Is there any kind of profit motive? Will they charge us? All these doubts would come up. So that's the reason why private sector can't do this people participation thing, right? Private sector can't do awareness creation. Any awareness creation by private sector would be seen as kind of marketing of their products. So private sector funds expertise because they will have technical people. They would have hired the best talent from the market. All these things. So they'll have expertise and logistics. So mobilization authority, some amount of infra would be available to government. So the question is, what kind of collaboration between government, NGOs, and private sector would be most productive? This kind of mobilization, or you can say collaboration, is most effective. So each stakeholder should bring about their core competency. They should bring about. So the things they have to keep in mind is their core competency. Second thing they have to keep in mind is uh, public reaction. Third thing they have to keep in mind is goal achievement and legal and moral legal process. Moral sometimes, legal and moral correctness. These things you have to keep in mind, and you have to even avoid any kind of avoiding conflict of interest. avoiding conflict of interest. So the best collaboration would be something which keeps all these things in mind. So, and these are the capacities. You will be writing it in the first part and you will be explaining it in 2-3 lines, and then you will be writing that any collaboration which brings about, which takes into consideration all these things and effectively places inputs for the overall development of the people, that can be considered as the desired collaboration. And you can write some examples. For example, you have to follow, especially UPSC aspirants, you must follow the aspirational district program, and you must follow the Niti Aayog awards. Niti Aayog awards are the central government awards, especially April 21 Civil Services Day awards. You have to follow, because in these aspirational district program, aspirational block program, the awards given, the Civil Services Day awards and all that, there you can see such best collaboration, examples related to such best collaborations. How the district collectors, how the block level officers, how did they mobilize things? How did they include private sector? How did they include certain NGOs which have got good reputation, clean record into these socio-economic aspects? For example, the collector of Jabua in Madhya Pradesh, so with the support of NGOs and even with the support of private schools, teachers and all that, he could create huge awareness about the dowry issue. So the dowry as a thing was a serious problem in Jabua district. He could drastically reduce it, right? So the conflict related to dowry in the society, it got substantially reduced. For example, Gadchiroli. In Gadchiroli, the district administration, it has taken the help of NGOs and even school teachers and all that in the process of creating awareness about Ambedkar ideology. So that youngsters would not join left-wing extremism, right? So that was done by the Gadchiroli administration. What did Ambedkar say about state? What did Ambedkar say about how to achieve certain things? Right? What is the right process? Why democracy is important? Why elections are important? Why should the marginalized sections own the process of election? All these things they were taught to people in a proper fashion because of this integration that was done. In a non-authoritative fashion, the district administration could bring about a lot of awareness in the district. So such examples, now it can be related to left-wing extremism, dowry problem, or any kind of sanitation-related issue, or any kind of drive conducted against illegal mining. So anything. So increasing the literacy, especially increasing the girl participation, uh, girl education, any such initiative related examples, 1 or 2 examples, you need to have a set of examples actually. You can use them in the society part, you can use them in the governance part also. So keep such things in mind and include such data. So if you have written answer on these lines, not exactly these points, but on these lines, if you can structure your answer and if you can prioritize your points, then definitely your answer would be a very much better answer. Plus, as a kind of icing on the cake, it's better to have one example. Okay, right. Next. So 10 mark questions regarding society, they are done. Now we'll be moving to the 15 mark questions. 17, 18, 19, 20. What is regional disparity? How does it differ from diversity? See, it's a very good question. Why? Because let me explain one thing. Some people, some so-called experts, they started glorifying non-development. This has become a recent trend. Okay, this process we call it as the exotification. That's the reason why these questions are asked. Some people, some so-called experts, they started glorifying non-development, calling it as keeping the diversity alive. Keeping the diversity alive. So disparity is different from diversity. Uh, uh, that's the reason why UPSC exam, or you can say UPSC body, is considered as a very qualitative institution, is because of this reason. Because they keep track of whatever going on in the society. So how people are changing their attitudes. We have seen it in the question of inter-caste marriages, but are happening, but inter-religious are not happening still. So such changes they do observe, and they do observe such changes in the academic direction that's going on regarding the debate on development. So that we need to see. Regional, you need to explain regional disparity regional diversity. See, disparity question arrives when you lack opportunities. Important thing is, it's all about lack of opportunities. What opportunities? Obviously, employment, obviously, education, all these, health, food, all these things. Okay, you don't have lack of opportunities, lack of freedom of choice, and then most importantly, opportunities and freedom of choice, they don't happen because lack of resources and infrastructure, resources and proper and necessary infrastructure. This is the case of disparity. So in disparity, in regional disparity, what happens is a region starts feeling that my region doesn't have proper infrastructure. My region, the people of that region start feeling that my region doesn't have proper infrastructure. My region resources are not there, and whatever resources are there, their mobilization is not happening properly. Lack of resources and resource mobilization is not happening properly. Lack of freedom of choice. You don't have alternatives. You are fixated to certain professions. Okay, for example, Vidarbha region. If you take Vidarbha region in central India, eastern Maharashtra, there people they don't have choice. They have to grow cotton. Most of the people they grow cotton or they go for groundnut crop because there the soil supports the aridity, the semi-aridity, and all that. It makes people to go for only these two crops. Even the Rayalaseema region in Andhra Pradesh, Anantapur and all that, Western Kurnool and all that, there people go for groundnut. If you take Anantapur district, only groundnut, right? Same case with certain districts of Bihar, southern Bihar. There people they don't have choice. They have to go for certain crops, for example, mustard crop and all that. So lack of freedom of choice. You don't have any other employment. You can't, either you have to do that particular agriculture or you have to get into some crime activity, some illegal activity to earn money. That's the only thing you have got. And then lack of, obviously, lack of job opportunities, lack of education related opportunities. For even for decent education, decent university, you have to travel a long distance. You have to go to other state or you have to go to the other region of the state. You have to go to a far city and all that. And then lack of proper health facilities. You don't have super specialty. For any surgery kind of thing, you need to go, you need to travel hundreds of kilometers. You need to go to a particular city. And lack of food related, nutrition related, these things. So that's the mainly women, children of that region, they have serious health complications because of nourishment related issues. If you take many parts of a country, many arid, semi-arid parts of the country, there the food related non-availability is also a serious part of the disparity. Okay, that's disparity. What is regional diversity? Regional diversity is all about having different different trajectories of development. See here, diversity, in the idea of diversity, you don't lack the things, but the only thing is you take a different direction. That's the only thing. For example, if you take Goa, see Goa overall the state is fine. Overall the state is developed. The indicators, the socio-economic indicators, the development indicators, and all that are decent. Right, it's a front runner state in the Niti Aayog report, Sustainable Development Goal Index and all that, SDG index and all that. Goa, North Goa is having lot of greenery, lot of agriculture activity, agri-related, primary sector related activity and all that, it happens there. South Goa, you have lot of tourism. So you have tourism, airport is in South Goa, the oldest this thing. Now North Goa also has got an airport, but for a very long time it was only in South Goa. All the famous beaches, resorts, all the tourism, everything, it happens in South Goa. North Goa, it largely is into the pristinity, the agriculture, and all such things. You don't see much of this tourist activity and all these things in South Goa. Okay, so this is diversity. Here, North Goa people, they are not deprived of anything. Okay, they are not deprived of health facilities. They are not deprived of employment opportunities. They are not deprived of basic infra that is required for decent living of people. They are not deprived of choice. All these things are present. So here we can call it as regional diversity. Each region having its own trajectory of development. Okay. So in smaller states, we can see this particular thing happening. Uh, so regional diversity, yes, is an appreciable thing. Regional diversity is a much necessary thing because every region should not follow a straight jacket method. Every region should not go for have an outer ring road, have IT sector, right? Have an airport, so have big industries. So that should not be that trajectory for each and every region. That doesn't work, right? So there should be diversity. For example, you take coastal districts of Andhra, coastal Tamil Nadu, delta regions, basically coastal AP, coastal Tamil Nadu, the delta regions. So these delta regions, they don't have big cities, they don't have IT industry, they don't have any major industries as such. You don't see much of this secondary activity. They are okay with this primary activity. They are mostly with this primary sector activity. Primary sector. Even the Mahanadi Delta region in Orissa. So they are into this paddy, palm oil. They are into this what we call it as shrimp culture, prawn culture, pisciculture. So all such things. Dairy is a very major thing. Poultry is a very major thing there. So they export the commodities. They kind of have their own network of employment job opportunities, warehouses network, everything. So they are okay with this particular model. Okay. For example, in coastal Tamil Nadu, if you take, there was this act that got passed, Agriculture Zone Act. So entire Kaveri Delta, it was declared purely an agrarian zone where industries or any such acquisition should not happen for non-primary sectors. They have passed a law. The Tamil Nadu government has passed a law based on the demand of the people there. Okay, it was not some forced thing. It was based on the demand of the people because people want that. People don't want their region to turn into the city of Chennai. They don't want it to be a concrete jungle. So Chennai city, Coimbatore city, they are nice. They are industrial hubs and all that. Secondary sector is very good. Manufacturing is very good. There are many jobs. Mobile manufacturing units have come there. All these things are there. MSMEs are very in large number in Coimbatore, Trichy, and all that. Whereas Tanjore region, the coastal delta region, Kaveri Delta, they want to be in primary sector. So that's their choice. So that's the difference between regional diversity and regional regional diversity and regional disparity. Here, these areas they are very good in health facilities. They have working, very fine working primary health centers. The government procurement happens on time. The nutrition levels are very good. The social indicators are bright. All these things are fine there, and they are okay with this. So, first thing, the required thing is as UPSC aspirant, you should have that knowledge of India. You should, for example, I said this Tamil Nadu Act about Kaveri Delta region. So have that, use that newspaper knowledge in appropriate fashion in your answers. So newspaper reading, it doesn't provide you direct points, but you can use those points somewhere in the answers. That's the reason why while you read newspaper, while you have this discussion with others and all that, try to observe the social trends, try to observe the demands of the people, how people are having diverse demands, how India is not a straight jacket thing, it's not a linear thing, it doesn't follow a linear model. There are different models that are working in different parts of the country. Some parts they are unable to take off. There you see serious problem of disparity. Vidarbha region is very backward. So in compared to Western Maharashtra. So there you see serious disparity happening. Western UP is well ahead of East UP. Okay, Eastern UP, the indicators are almost to the level of Sub-Saharan Africa, right? Now they have improved to some extent, but till the recent past, they were on par with Sub-Saharan Africa till 5, 6 years ago and all that. Western UP, whereas you see, they have kind of development, the sugarcane revolution, the green revolution happened there. They have good road network, all these things, right? So this is disparity, this is diversity. Okay, this is how serious is the issue of regional disparity in India. So this discussion you need to do. This is a 15-mark question, so you'll have enough time, enough space in the answer sheet. Plus, you need to dedicate decent amount of time to discuss these things with appropriate examples that you need to do in your answer in the first part. Next, the second part: how serious is the problem? How serious is the problem? The problem is so serious that we have come up with aspirational district program. We have come up with aspirational block program, right? We have come up with SDG index, SDG index at state level, at district level, and at block level, right? We have come up with Purvodaya scheme, Purvodaya scheme, because the eastern states, Jharkhand, Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, they are lagging behind. Even Andhra Pradesh after division, so it's lagging behind. So Purvodaya scheme in the recent budget, it was brought in aspirational district program. So districts which are lagging behind because of different reasons. In aspirational district program, what happens? So the priorities would be set. It can be irrigation, it can be anything. So road network, all these things, agricultural procurement, they all have to happen. Same case with aspirational block program, incentives, kind of disincentivizing any kind of diversion of funds. All these things are going on. Purvodaya scheme we have got, SDG index, competitive federalism. So we want to promote competitive federalism, right? So how serious is the issue? You can write the data. For example, you can trace the disparity in terms of allocations. In terms of allocations uh, and revenue generation. Allocation and revenue generation. If you take it, Maharashtra, it pays 100 rupees to center and it receives only 7 rupees. Okay. Bihar, if it contributes 100 rupees, it takes 700 rupees. This is the level of development difference in our country. So Maharashtra paying 100, it gets only 7 rupees back. It's okay, it's fine for it because it's the revenue contributed to the country. It contributes a lot. So 93 rupees, it is saying, okay, center, you can use it because I'm a developed state. I have employment, I have infrastructure, I attract a lot of investment. So I can. Whereas Bihar, it pays 100 rupees in the form of taxes and other things, and it receives almost 700, 750 rupees from the center because there the poverty levels are so high, the lack of infrastructure, lack of income generation. People are desperate for government schemes, right? So literally they live with government these things, the schemes given by government and all that. So that you need to keep in mind. So this is the level of seriousness. Same case with UP, it receives almost like 300 rupees by paying 100. Gujarat, it gets only some 35 something rupees by paying 100 rupees. So this is the level of how serious is the situation. This is the level of seriousness. And why it is serious? Because it leads to heavy migration. Many Biharis, they go to Maharashtra, they go to Gujarat, they come down to Tamil Nadu for work. So such migration, such large population migration, it would lead to kind of unnecessary conflicts, unnecessary discrimination on them, unnecessary stereotypes they get developed. Stereotypes. Bihar is an underdeveloped region. UP people are so and so. Bihar people are so and so. Such stereotypes they get developed in the society. So every region should have decent amount of development and employment opportunities. Only then there would be respect. Only then such stereotypes, such discriminations would end in the society, right? And you can trace all these schemes. Because the problem is serious, we want to solve it at the level of grassroots, right? We want to promote this. So that should be the content of your answer regarding regional. What is regional disparity? How does it differ from diversity? So disparity should not be confused with diversity. So not providing basic facilities, not providing employment opportunities is not the is not serving anyone. It is not diversity. Okay. How serious is the issue of regional disparity in India? So you can use any kind of data, any kind of metrics you can use. Here I have stated the 100, so how much a state is giving, how much they are getting back. You can use it, you can even use the sub-regional data within Maharashtra, within UP, within large states mainly. You can find such examples, such and data points, and you can highlight this is the level of seriousness of this problem, right? And then you can write these things in place, right? And you can conclude by saying that, so such, as I said just now, so regional disparities should end for an inclusive sustainable development and to remove all kinds of discriminations and stereotypes that are present in our society and have healthy progress. So for that, ending the regional disparities is must and should. Otherwise, it would lead to unnecessary movements, mobilizations, all these things. Right. So that strife should be avoided. And people should improve, the quality of life of people should improve. Next, 18th question. Next question. Next 15 marker, 15 marks question. Despite comprehensive policies for equity and social justice, underprivileged sections, equity, see the term here, equity, are not yet getting the full benefits of affirmative action envisaged by Constitution comment. See, by looking at this question, you should get this idea that this question in the society section of GS paper 1 is a direct outcome, or you can say this reflects the kind of ideas expressed by Supreme Court in the recent judgment on SC category subclassification or subcategorization of SC quota, SC/ST quota. So Supreme Court, it has expressed, even Government of India to agree to that observation of Supreme Court, that despite comprehensive policies, despite having several policies of for equity and social justice, underprivileged sections are not getting the full benefits of affirmative action envisaged by our Constitution. What are the comprehensive, first, in the first part of your answer, you have to write, what are the comprehensive policies for equity and social justice that are in place? What are the comprehensive nature of our policies? First, Constitution. Constitution itself is the first major policy intervention or policy measure that we have taken for the sake of improvement of the underprivileged sections of our society. Constitution, Article 14, 15, 16, 17, right, even Article 24 to some extent. So this you need to mention. Next, we have several acts in place. Within the Constitution in 1516, we have ensured reservations. Reservations, right? So several acts are in place. For example, SC/ST Atrocities Prevention Act. And then we have several acts, several constitutional amendments they have made. SC Commission, ST Commission, OBC Commission got constitutional status recently. All these things. And then finally you can write about schemes, welfare schemes, Stand Up India, so scholarships mechanisms, separate schools, what you can say, improved stipends, scholarships, everything. So almost like no fee for entry, exam writing, and all those things you can write in terms of welfare measures. Schemes are welfare measures taken. Welfare measures taken, in that part you can write, you can give examples, 1 2 examples. Okay, now, so These things you can write in the introduction part. Or not getting the full benefits of affirmative action. In the introduction part, after writing brief detailing kind of thing, you can go for the second. Why still the underprivileged sections are not getting the full benefits of affirmative action? Affirmative action is nothing but reservation in a broad sense. Why they are not getting? The first problem is the issue raised by Justice Gawai himself, one of the 5 judges who has given this judgment, one of the 6 judges in the recent SC/ST subquota judgment. So he spoke about the problem of creamy layer. You can even quote him because he has mentioned that issue in his this thing, in the observations he made in the judgment. Creamy layer. Next, you have the problem of what you can say, the problem of not having subclassification. Then you have the problem of leakages in the schemes. Leakages in schemes. Then you have the problem of non-implementation or non-enforcement of the rules, regulations, acts, and all these things. Next, we have poor budgetary allocations. Poor budgetary allocations. Then you have improper identification and exclusion related problems. Improper identification and then exclusion issues. So you need to have this basic understanding regarding first thing, affirmative action. So first why so underprivileged sections are not yet getting the full benefits of affirmative action envisaged by Constitution comment. Why they are not getting the full benefit of this affirmative action? See, first reason is the problem of creamy layer. So a particular section or few families of the underprivileged sections, the so-called underprivileged sections, so they are getting the benefits. So they are moving up the ladder. They are gaining the awareness part. They are gaining access to economic resources and every other thing, political privileges, economic resources, and other things. And they are transferring those benefits to their next generations, right? In this way, the elite, or you can say a small elite that got created in the marginalized sections, they are taking up the reservation benefits, the affirmative action benefits repeatedly, right? That's one major concern even expressed by Justice Gawai. So he said, as creamy layer is being implemented in OBCs, so in the same way, creamy layer concept should come up in SCs and STs. So he has expressed this view because he said, he says, so few over a generations they got benefited and they are not still leaving it. This makes a son of an IAS officer over 2-3 generations, they can't compete with, they can't be competed by people coming from very poor background. Same quota, son of IAS officer, son of a agricultural laborer. So you say both will get the same reservation. Is it justice? It's not justice according to him. So that's the reason why he says creamy layer must be implemented. Next, important thing is not having subclassification in SCs and STs. So this judgment, it highlighted that SCs and STs, or you can say in general, Indian society is not, any section in Indian society is not a homogeneous entity. So any section in Indian society, if it is not a homogeneous entity, you need to identify the subgroups within that entity. And you need to look which entity is getting how much reservation, is one particular section taking up all the reservation, right? So that has to be taken into consideration. For example, recently Justice Rohini Commission report on OBC subclassification at the central level. So that committee, it has categorically stated that only some 40 OBC caste groups, they have taken up almost like 70% around reservation was captured by 40 caste groups across the country. Out of the some 3000 OBC caste groups, 40 are getting undue benefit, whereas all the others, they are being left out. Some more than 100 caste groups, 100, 200 caste groups, they have not availed the reservation benefits yet because of the dominant OBCs taking up all the jobs, education and employment opportunities. Right? That's one serious concern they have expressed. Even among SCs, STs, that's the thing highlighted by certain groups like MRPS which have filed this case. What their argument is? Their argument is there are certain sections within Dalits which are taking up all the reservation benefits, the 14% or 15% quota that is there, and certain sections which are marginalized within the Dalits, they are unable to compete with them. They are unable to take any employment or education opportunity. That's the reason why they said subcategorize the quota and allocate it according to the population ratio. Then that will ensure some amount of justice to all the caste groups within the SC and ST. So subclassification is the necessity to avoid any one section dominating the others within this. Next, the other problems related to governance, leakages within the schemes. The schemes on ground implementation across the states, there are several leakages. There is this problem of politicization. There is this problem of data insufficiency. All these things, they lead to improper implementation of the schemes. So non-implementation and then you have this problem of SC/ST Atrocity Act or any such act, any such privilege, sorry, not privilege, any such welfare measure extended not being implemented properly. So poor budgetary allocation, improper identification, data insufficiency, and then exclusion of certain groups because of this same data insufficiency, governance reasons, litigation related reasons, court cases being not cleared on time. All these reasons, they are the reason behind underprivileged sections not getting full benefits of affirmative action, right? These things you can explain. In the first part, you need to explain this. In the second part, you have to deal with these points in priority basis, on priority basis. And in conclusion, you can write saying that you can write about this entire issue of what you can say, Indian society moving towards an inclusive approach. Indian society moving towards approach where the last one is also taken along. There won't be any kind of anyone who is left out in this process. So the very purpose of affirmative action is to see to it that no one is left out. The process of affirmative action is not about creating elites within marginalized sections. Okay, so it's about taking the last person along. That thing you need to highlight in your conclusion, and that's where the entire purpose of affirmative action, the provisions of constitution, they get the real meaning, right? It's a very good question, or you can say it's a very challenging question, right? Because it demands from you so much of understanding of the issue. It demands from you the latest knowledge of what's going on in Indian society, how judiciary is looking at, how certain groups are looking at, and how did they fight against this entire thing. Okay, so have that sound idea and present it in your answer. Okay, that would make your answer more appropriate. Okay, and mainly don't write any kind of point that would hurt anyone's sentiments. Okay, uh, that's not at all that's very much punishable. That's very much wrong from a UPSC aspirant, especially from a layman it happens, it's wrong, definitely wrong. From an UPSC aspirant, it's a grave mistake. It would be a very big mistake. So in your answer, you should be sensitive, you should be conscious regarding the language you use. You should use appropriate language, and you should model your answer purely on the basis of judicial observations and observations made by certain organizations. Okay, So that would make your answer more sensible. So don't make any kind of unnecessary statement or judgmental observations. So that you should avoid in this thing. So society answers, they are very much they are very much specific in society answers regarding your attitude, the language you use, how casual you are. All these things are observed in your answers, in society answers. Okay, that you should keep in your mind. Now, so if you want, I can. So mainly, it's about the question of creamy layer, and then the question of subclassification. Subclassification, and then data insufficiency, and then litigation. These should be your points of priority. Other things, leakages, implementation issues, governance issues, they are fine, but these four should definitely be there in your answer, and you should explain each thing in a proper fashion. Now, next, 19th question. Globalization has increased urban migration by skilled young unmarried women. So skilled, the terms used are skilled young unmarried women from various classes. Various classes. See, in the beginning of the this thing in this session itself, I have told various classes. You should be having this layered approach. So when you study Indian society, when you observe Indian society, when you write your answer, they expect the layered approach. They expect your knowledge regarding various layers that are present in Indian society. So women from various classes. How has this trend impacted upon their personal freedom, relationship with family? So two things, personal freedom and relationship with family. Now, so in the introduction part, you will be writing the usual things. So globalization, it has led to increased job opportunities, increased awareness, and most importantly, it has led to increased urbanization. It has even led to, you can say, globalization has led, especially in India, it has led so particular model of development. Particular model of development. So these things, they are promoted by globalization, a linear model of development that we see, okay, in India especially. Now, so this phenomena, globalization as a phenomena, it has increased job opportunities, obviously, even for women. So this has led to migration thing. So you need to explain this phenomena of globalization and women-centric jobs, or you can say uh, women women being prioritized in certain jobs. They are there. For example, call centers. Call centers. Even you can take software industry. Software industry, it requires uh, mental capabilities, not physical work. So software industry, it's happy to take more and more women. So call centers are there, and then you have many banking related professions, banking, telecallers. So all such professions are there related to women. So now this has led to women from various classes. See, the upper sections, they are moving to these software jobs, so high level fintech, edutech, and all that. They are moving into those. So the lower sections who are having less capabilities, less skills, less educational qualification, and all that, they are into these call centers jobs, telecallers, all such things. They are into such professions. Even some they work in malls, right? Because there is this growth of mall culture in India with globalization. So with increase in the number of malls, so there is this requirement of women staff there, right? So women staff are required especially to deal with women customers who visit the mall. So they have to mandatorily employ women. And you have this culture of, you have this DMarts, More, Spencers, and all these things coming up, right? So when you have all these things, they too require women staff. So women staff in malls and departmental stores and other such things, right? So all these things are in place. So upper sections into these jobs, lower sections into these jobs. Now, this phenomena you need to explain, that's fine. Next, how has this trend impacted upon their personal freedom? The second part of the question. Personal freedom and relationship with family. Personal freedom. Next, relationship with family. The two parts asked in the question. Regarding personal freedom part, how it has impacted? Definitely, it has increased it. It has increased it. Definitely, their choice has improved. Definitely, decision making has improved. Decision making has improved. So agency, the decision making, we use the term agency. Now the agency is lying with the woman because they are earners. They have got that particular job on their merit. So the company requires them. So they are being hired. So there is no mercy of anyone. There is no kind of any such thing, right? So it is purely kind of employer-employee relationship based on merit, need, and all these things. So decision making, and then uh, all these things, they have definitely improved, especially income. So earnings. So their authority on earning, their authority on savings, their authority on spending, uh, prioritizing the spending mechanism, spending on their self-care, all these things, they have improved. Earning and spending patterns related freedom. They have all significantly changed. They have all significantly improved, and that's a good thing. That's a progressive thing about Indian society. So everyone is getting employment. Everyone is experiencing all these changes, right? And one more thing in the domain of personal freedom, they have this many women who are into this urbanization or globalization related sectors. They have this freedom of choice, even in the matters of marriage. Even in matters of marriage. The caste barriers, as we discussed in the earlier question, the caste barriers, if the caste is of same socio-economic nature, so such marriages they have increased a lot because now women have the freedom to choose at least from other caste groups which are of the same socio-economic background, which are of same socio-economic nature and all that. So marriage as a thing has also has undergone many changes. Even personal freedom in matters of children, because career has become an important dimension. That's the reason why the number of children has drastically reduced. So single child families they have increased a lot because women are not having time to what you can say raise kids and all that. So yes, so children, and then you have this having this phenomena of maids. The phenomenon of maids has increased a lot in urban cities. So now maid has become a basic necessity in urban society, right? Even the lower middle class families, they are having maids because both men and women in the family, they are working. So that's the reason why. So now they are employing maids. So maids are also part of this globalization process. Women getting job opportunities as part of globalization process. So maids and other care economy has increased. Care economy, especially related to kids and elderly. So this we'll see later in the second part. So maids as such has increased. So personal freedom has increased a lot. So relationship with the family, relationship as such, or you can say their social existence as such, it got heavily changed. In the globalized urban centers where women are working, they have this heavy anonymity. See, simple. In cities, you are no one. In your office, you will have your presence. You will know few people and all that. Once you are out of the office, in the larger malls, in the larger streets, in bazaars, in markets, and all that, you are no one. No one would, what you can say, identify you. You will not have a great social circle beyond your professional this thing, because most of the time you will be working in the office and all that. So you will have this large anonymity that's there. So anonymity is one important thing. Second thing is that many women, they are having a very basic relation with their family, basic relation, or you can say utility based relation. You can say utility based relation. It's like, okay, my salary got credited today, I have to send some 50% of my salary or 60% of the salary to my parents. So they'll call their parents, say, okay, my salary got credited, I'm sending this amount to you. If you have got any necessities, please call me back. That's it. So basic relation, especially utility based relation, you can even call it as kind of commercialization of their relationship with the family, because women have become providers. So now they are having this role of provider, and they uh, are keeping that relation as a provider kind of thing. It happens with men too. Now it is happening. It has already happened with men. Now it's happening with women. That's the thing. We are not judging here. We are only making an observation that, so this commercial or utility based relation with the family, which was there earlier for men, now it got started even with women. Okay, earlier it was like men had this utility based commercial relation with the family, and women used to have, the girl child used to have that emotional relationship with the family. But now both girl child and the boy child, they started having this utility based relationship with the family. And one more thing, in globalized societies, what we see is, more than with family, you spend your time, your free time on social media. You spend most of your time on social media. You give more importance to your online friends than your relatives. Social media, online friends, so they become this thing. You will start having this virtual family or digital family of your own. So WhatsApp groups would be created among these online friends whom they meet on Facebook or Twitter or some other social platform. So online friendships, they kind of become more important than the regular relatives, and sometimes even immediate family, this thing. So anonymity, isolation, this would lead to they finding more, and this utility based relationship makes them to move to find succor, to find emotional bonding with online friends and other such people. Right. So this is one thing. So I have made some more points here. Online presence. So, and one more thing is professional friends, they become family. Yeah. You can observe this. Professional friends, so you will have relations with them, you will have kind of marital relations and all such things you will develop with your professional friends, because you spend most of your day with them. You share most of your emotions, your problems, your financial issues, everything with them. So professional friends, they become personal friends. So, right, in many offices you can see uh, kind of colleagues marrying, colleagues getting into relation. All these things, they are quite common phenomena from the upper section to lower section. It's a common thing, right? That's one thing. uh, and then there are many stereotypes that got developed regarding relatives, especially family based relations and relative based relations. They are undergoing heavy scrutiny, they are undergoing serious changes. So some people, they have especially people who moved out, women who moved out to other places. If a woman marries someone from our office, not from her caste, not from her relative background, and if she moves out of the country to some other place, to US or UK or some other place, then she loses almost entire connect with her relatives. Right? This happens even with men. So they lose entire connect with their relatives. Their children will not have any contact with their relatives, and especially this problem you can see in NRIs. So complete loss of family relations. Okay, if their parents move to that particular place, that's fine. Otherwise, their parents also will have very minimal interaction. That's it. And there they will have their own friend circle, and that friend circle again turns into relations. So this, in this way, they keep on moving away from the family. So relationship with the family, it changes on all these dimensions. Okay. So anonymity, utility based relation, online friends becoming more important, professional groups, professional relations becoming personal relations, and the phenomena of NRS, a total loss of contact, or you can say emotional banding with the family. In case of NRS, even with urban settlers too, this has become a phenomena these days, right? All these things you can discuss in your answer. Okay. So you should be careful while writing in the conclusion, especially that these things they used to happen with women in the earlier days. Now they got started in a big way with women too. It's a sign of progress. At the same time, it's a cause of concern, right? Especially women will have safety issues. Women will have kind of emotional issues. So many women with kind of less emotional this thing, emotional strength, they commit suicides if they fail in these relations, if they turn otherwise. So such negative dimensions are also there. So in the conclusion, you need to write that it used to happen with men. Now it's happening with women in a big way. It has both positives as well as it empowers women. Definitely, it empowers women, but at the same time, there are concerns regarding safety and emotional uh, strength related concerns. Okay, so positives and then negatives. It has definitely given empowerment and freedom to women. This part you need to write. Right. Next, last question. Critically analyze the proposition that there is a high correlation between India's cultural diversities and socioeconomic marginalities. So this is a very, uh, I would say, one of the best questions by UPSC in the recent times. Right. See, the thing is, we appreciate. See, we should have. I should provide you certain context. The question says, critically analyze. See, the keyword here is critically analyze. Critically analyze the proposition that there is high correlation between cultural diversities that are there in our country with socio-economic marginalities. Socio-economic marginalities. We appreciate our diversity. We say we have a lot of culture. We have different cultures, different regions, different cultures, different caste groups, religious groups. So this is the reason why we have a lot of diversity. We celebrate our diversity. That's fine. That's very cool. That's very good. We have to celebrate. We have to appreciate. So we should feel happy that India is home of so much of diversity, whereas other countries, other societies, they are very much homogeneous. We are very much diverse. So there is a lot of conflict, cooperation, discussion, debate that happens. Clash of ideas, all these things happen. That's all fine. That's all the good part of the cultural diversity. But this question, it wants us to critically analyze. There is this correlation between India's cultural diversities and socio-economic marginalities. So diversity is part, which is good thing, which is to be celebrated. On the negative side, it contributes to socioeconomic marginalities. It contributes to socioeconomic marginalities because uh, the diversity is not always horizontal in nature. The diversity is vertical most of the times. For example, if you take caste, the main feature of our society, of our culture, of our diversity. So caste is a horizontal phenomena. You have, as we discussed in the earlier questions, you have large group of castes, agrarian castes, which are at the horizontal level. Their diversity, their traditions, practices, they have similarities, they have differences. That's fine. But at the same time, you have caste hierarchies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have this diversity in the society. So this cultural diversity in the caste dynamics, leading to socio-economic marginality. The third, fourth, and fifth sections, at least the fourth and fifth in this hierarchy, in this diversity, they are facing this marginality. Okay, and next we have religion. In religion, yes, fine, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, and all that. But this cultural diversity, it is leading to marginalization of certain communities. If you look at the Sachar committee report, if you look at the Ranganath Mishra committee report, these committee reports, they have highlighted that the representation of Muslims in education, in employment, in civil services, in higher bureaucracy, it's very less. One way we are celebrating our religious cultural diversity, on the other way it is leading to socio-economic marginality. We don't say that because of diversity there is marginality, but this diversity is one thing and marginalization is another thing. This problem has to be addressed, is our concern. We don't want to end the diversity. We don't say end the religions, end the caste and all that. No, they can preserve their cultures, they can preserve their diversities, but we have to see to it that this doesn't lead to marginalization of certain groups, certain caste groups and certain religious groups. That's the case. And then this cultural diversity, you have it in language, the question of language. So some languages, they are very large, they have representation in art. Only 14 languages, 22 languages, they are scheduled languages in earthing. So in these languages exams are conducted, so they are kind of mainstream languages. What about the other languages? So we are celebrating the diversity on the one side, but we are giving representation only to 22 languages in the matters of policy making, in the matters of exam and all that. Yes, there is definitely practical dimension. We can't include all the languages, but there is some amount of socio-economic marginalization that's happening in the language sphere. That's happening in the art forms. Are all the art forms equally popular? Are all the art forms equally patronized by the government, by the private sector? Or only certain art forms which are belonging to the upper sections? Are they getting higher representation? Are they getting higher space? Are they getting higher allocations, budgetary allocations, and all these things? That we need to highlight. For example, there is this famous musician, Carnatic musician Krishna. He highlighted that when Jinping, when he visited Chennai, when Modi Jinping had this meeting in Mahabalipuram, he said that certain art forms, it might be true, it might not be true, but we need to observe the observation made by him. Certain art forms of the lower groups, lower sections of the society, they are made to stay on the road, whereas certain art forms of the upper sections of the society, they are provided with stage, tent, and everything. Why this discrimination in the art form? One side you are showing the diversity on the streets, we have so much culture, art forms, and all that. On the other side, you are discriminating, you are marginalizing certain art forms belonging to certain sections of the society, right? So art forms. So in every sphere we have this thing, and you have this problem of non-recognition. It can be because of budgetary reasons, it can be because of data insufficiency, it can be because of sheer negligence sometimes. You have this problem of non-recognition of certain languages, certain traditions. For example, the Kudmi Mahatos of Jharkhand, Bengal region. So they feel their language, Kudmi language, is not properly represented. It's spoken by a large number of people in Jharkhand, Bengal, but they are not having this representation in the share constitution. Exams doesn't happen in Jharkhand and Bengal in their language. Why this discrimination? Why this non-recognition? There is this problem of non-recognition of certain languages and other things. And you have this problem of polarization and discrimination, especially polarization problem in the time, in the aspects of religious diversity. So any small controversy or any small kind of diversity in matters of food and other things, it would lead to polarization. Why certain foods are included? Why certain foods are not included? Right? This would lead to debates. So diversity, it is leading to, and then of course all these would lead to litigation, confrontation, and in this litigation and confrontation process, certain sections they again get marginalized. So, proposition that there is high correlation between Indian cultural diversities and socioeconomic marginalities. Yes, definitely there is high correlation between cultural diversities and socioeconomic marginalities that are happening in our society. You need to explore each dimension. Caste dimension, the hierarchy in it, leading to socioeconomic marginalization of certain caste groups. Religion dimension, you can quote the commission reports and leading to this thing. And you can write about non-recognition problems. These could means and other such issues. And then you can write about polarization problems, art forms, especially you can see this marginalization in art forms, language, literature, art and language, language and literature, music, all the art forms, okay, art forms, and then these things, litigation and confrontation would always lead to further socio-economic marginalization of already marginalized sections and their ways and means of expression. Okay, this we need to understand. But the question is critically analyzed. Here in this part, we accept that there is this strong correlation. In the second, it takes a lot of time and space to discuss all these nuances in a careful fashion. You can't even uh, you can't even afford to have a wrong statement. You can't even afford to have a casual statement in this answer. Be clear on this front. Okay, you have to be very careful when you discuss these nuances in your answer. Next part of the this thing is you need to highlight that it doesn't always lead to confrontation, it doesn't always lead to socioeconomic marginalization. Sometimes it would lead to inclusion, it would lead to promotion, inclusion, promotion. These things, they do happen in our diverse cultures. Okay, for example, the old Chiki script of Santali language, so it got well integrated into the mainstream. Okay, even the non-tribals, non-Santalis, they started appreciating the old Chiki script. They started learning it. They started reading Ramayana and all that in that script. And you can see the Dogra language. Earlier, Dogra language was a marginalized language. Now it's a kind of, because of the increased consciousness regarding this Jammu problem, Dogra issue, the diversity of Jammu Kashmir and all that. So Dogra language, it is getting some kind of recognition. The theatre arts and all these things in that language, you see a small increase in that, right? So same case with the Dalit musicians. Number of Dalit musicians who are taking up Hindustani, especially Carnatic music, it is slowly increasing. So there is this process of inclusion that's happening in uh, the art form, which was uh, once kind of exclusive club of one section of the society, Carnatic music. Now slowly Dalits are moving into it, or Dalits are slowly entering into that domain. Right, this was there. So recently, this academy, Tamil Nadu State Music Academy, it included Dalits into the uh, kind of governing council of that particular body, right? So this was done. So inclusion, promotion, so all these things are also happening. So diversities, they are being preserved. They are being preserved. Some art forms which were belonging to lower caste sections earlier, now they are being adopted in a very strong way by upper caste sections. Especially in Karnataka, Andhra, you can see this phenomena of art forms which earlier belonged to lower caste sections now being taken up by upper caste sections. Okay, it's a kind of equal relations are being established on all the spectrums. So it's not, in the conclusion you can write by writing these points, you can say that it's not always about marginalization. Sometimes good is also happening in Indian society regarding this correlation, cultural diversities and socio-economic dynamics. So in this way, you have to model your answers in uh, this particular entity. So as I said earlier, so those who want to score good marks in general studies papers, you need to be observant. So you can see 100 marks, literally out of 250, right? So 100 marks from society. Even that question on migration, so uh, as given as part of this thing, geography, you can consider even that as the thing, because it has social dynamics. While migration is happening, into large cities, not into small towns. Right? More of the migration is happening into larger cities. That's also a societal question. So if you add it into society, because it's discussed already by geography sir, I'm not discussing it. So 110 marks. 110 marks, the society part. So pay attention to it, read carefully, be observant. Whatever you read about Indian society, diverse content related to different movements going on, different conflicts going on, all these things. So pay attention to them. Okay, uh, read them with genuine interest. Don't read them in a bookish fashion. Read them with genuine interest. Observe the ongoing things in your surroundings, and uh, be ready to answer, right? So do answer writing. So such complex answers should be practiced. The language, the appropriate language, where you should use inverted commas. So all these things you have to be very mindful of. So proper reading, understanding the basics, being observant about the surrounding society, reading newspaper properly, making proper use of newspaper regarding what's going on across the country, how political economic aspects having impact on society, and then finally practicing the answers, practicing how to write a nuanced answer with right vocabulary, with the right paraphrasing. That's necessary. Okay, all these things you have to keep in mind while you prepare for the society part. Now it has become a very major part in UPSC. In the scheme of exam, it has got huge weightage. It might increase, it might be the same. If it might not increase, but it might be the same thing in the future also. Okay, it will have that huge weightage. Right. Thank you.